5 stable years can quietly erase your leverage. If nothing changes, you'll still be reliable and still at the same level. In the next few minutes, you'll see why working hard and staying responsive can quietly cap your income, narrow your role, and reduce your upward movement, even when everything looks fine. The risk isn't collapse. It's 5 years passing without expansion, promotions stall, income stabilizes, your identity hardens around being dependable, but not directional. Here's the mechanism. When you become consistently reliable, your environment adapts, your extra effort gets absorbed, your availability becomes expected. Over time, additional input produces smaller returns. This isn't about motivation. It's not about grinding harder. It's about a feedback loop where discipline applied to maintenance reduces responsiveness. And that shows up as flat income, shrinking leverage, and fewer inflection points. In this video, you'll see 3 signs your results have stopped reacting, 2 reinforcing loops that lock you into maintenance, and 1 structural shift that restores upward movement. Your day starts the same way it has for years. You open your laptop before anyone asks you to, inbox first. There are 12 new messages. None of them are dramatic. A small clarification, a timeline question, a request for a file you already sent last week. You respond to each one within minutes. A quick fix to a spreadsheet, a number slightly off, you adjust it, send it back. Thanks for catching that. A Slack notification pops up. Someone needs context before a client call. You jump in. You remember the details. You explain what happened 3 weeks ago. It takes 5 minutes. The call goes smoothly. By 9:30 a.m., you've already solved 4 small problems. You keep going. A teammate is stuck on formatting a proposal. You tweak it. Another message comes in, asking for confirmation on a decision that was technically made yesterday. You restate it clearly. You make things cleaner, faster, easier. You don't ignore anything. When a task looks slightly complicated, you break it down. When a decision feels heavy, you defer it one day. Not to avoid it, just to gather more input. There's no crisis, no chaos. Everything is under control. You are reliable. Around noon, there's a larger question sitting in your task manager, something strategic. It would require blocking 2 hours. You flag it for later. There are still messages coming in. Quick wins, things you can close in under 10 minutes. You close them. By the end of the day, your response time is near 0. No one is waiting on you. You've kept momentum alive for everyone else. Projects move because you move. Nothing feels wrong. Your performance review last year said the same thing it said the year before. Dependable, consistent, highly responsive. You've built a reputation around that. And slowly, almost invisibly, your day has reorganized itself around protecting that reputation. The larger decision? It moves to tomorrow. The exploratory idea? Next week. The uncomfortable conversation about scope? Not urgent. Text, there's always something more immediate. By Friday, you've cleared dozens of small requests, you've stabilized timelines, you've prevented mistakes, you've absorbed friction, you feel productive, you were busy every hour. But if someone asked what changed this week, what expanded, it would take a moment to answer. Nothing broke, nothing leaped forward either. Still, that's normal. That's work. Au padrone. 5 years can pass exactly like this. And from the inside, it doesn't look like stagnation. It looks like responsibility. The routine doesn't feel different the next week. You're still fast, still accurate, still the person who responds first. But small choices start repeating. When a new project is introduced, you naturally take the operational part. Someone has to coordinate timelines. Someone has to track details. You volunteer before it's assigned. Not because you have to, because you know you'll do it well. In meetings, when conversation drifts toward long-term direction, you listen, but you don't push. There's comfort in clarity. Directional debates are slower, less certain, harder to complete. So you handle what's concrete. After a few months, people stop checking if you're available. They assume you are. Your calendar fills itself, 15-minute blocks, quick calls, clarifications. You rarely decline. It's easier to keep flow than to create friction. You tell yourself you'll carve out space later. Later rarely arrives. Another small shift. You stop proposing changes unless they're fully formed. Early-stage ideas feel inefficient. If you can't execute them immediately, they sit in your notes. You refine, you polish, you wait for the right moment. The right moment usually goes to someone else who spoke earlier. Nothing feels lost. You're still respected. But something subtle starts happening. Your role narrows around execution. You become the stabilizer. When deadlines tighten, leadership looks at you. When something needs to be cleaned up, you're pulled in. When a process needs maintenance, you're trusted with it. It's positive. But over time, your week contains fewer inflection points, fewer moments where you're shaping direction, more moments where you're preserving it, and the shift is gradual enough that you don't notice it as a shift. You just notice that you're busy. At the end of the quarter, the results look steady, targets met, no volatility, no surprises. Your compensation review reflects the same tone, consistent performance, solid contribution. The number moves slightly, but not meaningfully. You don't question it. Stability is good. Still, something has quietly changed. Your extra availability is no longer impressive. It's assumed. You don't reduce your effort. If anything, you increase it. When timelines tighten, you extend your day by an hour. When someone misses a detail, you quietly correct it before it becomes visible. When leadership needs numbers pulled quickly, you deliver them before they follow up. You are still the person who makes things smooth, but the reaction to your effort starts to feel neutral. Not negative, not dismissive, just neutral. A few years ago, turning something around in 2 hours instead of 2 days would have created visible impact. Now it barely registers. It's simply how things work. You reply fast. The team moves on. You catch errors. The project continues. You take on overflow work. Deadlines are met. But the outcome looks identical to what would have happened if you had done slightly less. That's the first light, tangible consequence. Additional input produces smaller, visible return. You notice it subtly during review season. Your manager says you're indispensable, reliable, the backbone of execution. There's appreciation in the tone, but the compensation adjustment mirrors last year's. Steady. Your workload has increased, your responsibility feels heavier, yet your income line remains almost flat compared to the effort line. You rationalize it, markets are tight, budgets are controlled, it's temporary, so you double down on being even more responsive. You clear inboxes faster, you anticipate needs earlier, you volunteer before being asked. But another shift appears. Because you always respond quickly, people begin routing more decisions through you, not directional decisions, clarifications. Can you confirm this? Can you take a quick look? Do you mind handling this part? Each request is small. Together, they occupy the space where larger leverage could have formed. You are busy maintaining velocity. But you're not changing altitude. The pattern isn't obvious yet. Nothing is broken. You're still respected, still trusted. Yet when you compare this year to 3 years ago, the difference isn't in title or authority. It's in volume, more input, same level. And it's happening quietly enough that it still feels like progress. By now, the pattern feels stable. You handle complexity without noise. You answer quickly. You keep projects from slipping. That consistency has shaped how people around you operate. When something is unclear, they send it to you. When timing is tight, they rely on you. When a new initiative launches, they assume you'll manage the moving parts. At first, this feels like trust. But a subtle loop begins to form. Because you are always responsive, others stop building buffers. They don't need to. You are the buffer. Deadlines are set tighter because you can handle pressure. Information is shared later because you'll process it quickly. Ambiguity is tolerated longer because you'll clean it up. Your reliability adjusts the environment. And as the environment adjusts, your effort gets absorbed faster. You work slightly harder to keep everything smooth. The system, without anyone naming it, recalibrates around that higher baseline. Nothing dramatic happens, but your availability is no longer a differentiator, it's infrastructure. You notice it in small moments. A meeting is scheduled over the 2-hour block you had reserved for deeper work. You accept it, it's important. A project that was supposed to be collaborative slowly shifts toward you because others are overloaded. You don't complain, you execute. Another quarter passes. Results are steady again. No major failures, no major leaps. Promotions are discussed at a higher level. People who drove visible shifts, opened new initiatives, created new revenue streams. You're described as essential, but not directional. That's the incomplete loop. Your discipline makes you stable. Your stability makes you predictable. Your predictability reduces surprise, and reduced surprise lowers perceived upside. You are low risk, but you are also low variance. The cost isn't visible yet. Your title hasn't changed. Your income hasn't dropped. But upward movement requires reaction, and your results are starting to look pre-calculated. Still, everything feels fine. You're busy, trusted, included. The loop isn't fully clear, but it's tightening. Nothing collapses. That's what makes this difficult to see. You're still included in important conversations, still copied on strategic emails, still invited to planning sessions. But when new initiatives are formed, your name appears in a specific column. Execution, operational lead, integration, rarely originator, rarely owner. It happens gradually. Across functional project launches, someone else is positioned as the face of it. You're assigned to make sure it runs smoothly. You accept. That's what you're known for. You deliver. The project succeeds. Recognition centers around the person who defined it. Your contribution is described as critical support. That word repeats, support. Another quarter passes. Compensation review again reflects consistency, slight adjustment, cost of living alignment. Appreciation language remains strong, but the delta between your effort and your financial movement widens. Your income stabilizes, your responsibility grows, and something else begins to narrow. Optionality. Recruiters reach out less frequently. When they do, the roles resemble your current one. Operational, stabilizing, dependable. You're seen as safe hands, not as a growth catalyst. This is the silent cost. Maintenance work compounds invisibly. It preserves value, but it rarely multiplies it. And when your identity hardens around being the reliable one, people hesitate to move you away from that function. Because if you move, who absorbs the friction? 5 years ago, you had room to expand upward. Now, you're embedded horizontally. Your day is full. Your performance is solid. Your reputation is intact. But leverage is thinner. You trade hours for stability. And the more stable everything becomes, the fewer inflection points appear. Promotions stall, not denied, just delayed. Income flattens, not reduced, just steady. Your role becomes narrower, not demoted, just defined. From the outside, it still looks responsible. From the inside, it feels controlled, yet upward movement requires disruption, and disruption is the one thing your routine has been quietly eliminating. By now, the pattern is no longer about busy days. It's structural. Look back at the sequence. You worked hard. Your work became reliable. Your reliability created stability, and stability reduced responsiveness. Not your responsiveness. The environments. When you consistently absorb friction, friction stops surfacing visibly. When you prevent errors early, breakthroughs look unnecessary. When you maintain smooth output, variance disappears, and variance is where upside usually lives. There are two reinforcing loops operating at the same time. The first loop, you respond quickly. Others depend on that speed. Expectations tighten. You respond even faster. Your availability becomes baseline infrastructure. Extra effort no longer signals exceptional value. It simply sustains the current level. The second loop, you preserve stability. Risk decreases, visible volatility drops, fewer moments require bold repositioning. Because nothing feels urgent, nothing forces expansion. The environment adapts to your discipline. Additional input produces smaller return. That's the mechanism. Your income reflects stability because your output reflects predictability. Your promotions stall because your role optimizes continuity, not directional change. Your leverage shrinks because fewer decisions carry your name at the origin point. You didn't lose capability, you lost reaction. Results stopped reacting to effort. The structure connects cleanly. Effort becomes routine. Routine creates stability. Stability reduces responsiveness. Reduced responsiveness flattens upward movement. No collapse, no crisis. Just a ceiling forming slowly above consistent performance. And because everything still works, there's no signal strong enough to interrupt it. That's why 5 stable years can quietly erase leverage. Not through failure, through maintenance. 5 years pass without drama. Your calendar is still full. Your inbox is still managed. Your reputation is still intact. You are the person people trust when things need to work. But look at the measurable lines. Your income has grown incrementally, not exponentially. Your title has adjusted slightly, not fundamentally. Your authority has expanded within execution, not direction. You are more experienced, but not more leveraged. The ceiling didn't arrive suddenly. It formed gradually as your effort converted into routine. Your routine produced stability, and your stability reduced the environment's need to react to you. There were fewer inflection points, fewer moments where your name was attached to a shift instead of a safeguard. Over time, additional input produced diminishing movement. You worked harder to maintain, but maintenance rarely multiplies. Your identity solidified around being dependable. Dependable people are protected. They are kept where they are most useful. And usefulness inside a stable structure doesn't automatically create upward movement. That's the quiet risk, not collapse, not failure. 5 years passing without expansion. Promotions stall, not denied, just deferred. Income stabilizes, not shrinking, just flattening. Leverage narrows, not removed, just absorbed into expectation. Texto padrão. The environment adapts to what you consistently provide. If what you consistently provide is stability, the system optimizes around preserving it. And once everything runs smoothly because of you, upward motion requires something different than more of the same. Working harder won't break the ceiling that routine built, because the ceiling is made of reliability compounded over time. The question isn't whether you're capable, it's whether your results are still reacting. If nothing changes, you'll still be reliable, and still at the same level.